System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.
This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Today is Tuesday, August 12th. I am Amin TMK alongside Emoja Lil Tanky Sumler. Emoja, hello. Happy Tuesday. It's going up on a Tuesday. How are you, my friend? In occupied Washington, D.C., no less.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've been out and got to see any, military vehicles, soldiers.
It was great, man. Look, Trump been trying to have his military parade. He gonna have a military parade in the city, man. The siege.
Wow, the
Part
real...
do.
Right. Right. It got crazier. Yeah, no Denzel, unfortunately. But here we are. Let's dive into... So that's happening here in Washington, D.C. You guys know, that's where we do most of our work. So let's talk about some geopolitics, shall we? Because it always seems like every week we're going, man, what the? So anyway, let's get into this, shall we? This week looked like some big news going on.
Look at this face, man. What is this Trump face?
I just want you to see this face. This is a terrible face. This is I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get it. But look how similar these two men look, by the way. Anyway, so this is the corridor outlined. This is the corridor for the Caucasus. Okay, Armenia-Azerbaijan Pact. So this says Iran rejects this planned transit corridor. And I think this is sort of, we've been mentioning it. You've discussed it for a little bit about what's really happening here. Why is this I believe it's 99-year lease? Why is this happening now? What's going on with it? And how, if any, does this affect Iran or any other sort of big geopolitical event right now?
So once again, it's the United States on their sneaky shit, man. Nobody does sneaky shit like we do. Nobody. The thing about it is, this little area is it's a land bridge. If you look at the way that Armenia and Azerbaijan connect, there's like this weird little place where first it's Azerbaijan and then it's Armenia and then it's Azerbaijan again, right? And they've been fighting over this little area forever, really since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, But here's the thing. That's the north side. The south side of that border is Iran, right? Once you cross that, you're in. So like now all of a sudden there's a peace deal between Azerbaijan, who has been a Turkish satellite, which by proxy means an American NATO proxy. Plus, they do a lot of business with Israel. It's alleged, okay, not confirmed, but strongly insinuated that during the so-called 12-day war, a lot of the drones that came into Iranian airspace were launched out of Azerbaijan. And the story was, don't worry about it. The Iranian regime is about to fall. No one's ever going to be able to link this back to you. Well, TLDR, Iran didn't fall, But so now you have to look at that in the context of now the United States brokers a ceasefire and claims essentially ownership of this little strip of land that's contentious. Well, we'll keep the peace. We'll keep the peace by staying right here. Like, wait, what? So like the Americans now will have a strip of land connected to Iran, the country. And what do we say? What was the reason why ultimately Iran was not going to be able to be defeated? The United States has no way of landing troops and bringing them into the country. Well, that problem's gone now. The United States has a 99-year lease on a country area that has a direct physical border with Iran that has already been implicated in attacks on Iran. You see what I'm saying? So again, the peace president, has once again set up, a means of launching a preeminent strike at any time. And here's the thing. This is why the person that I blame the most for this is Pezeshkian. who is the president of Iran. Look, there are three possibilities. He's playing 5-dimensional chess, and he speaks very subtly, but behind the scenes,
That's not it, man.
That right. All right. So the other possibility is he's freaking incompetent. Like, because this dude was just in Azerbaijan less than a week ago signing trade deals with the Azerbaijani president. They didn't tell you they was about to give a 99-year land lease to the United States. The third option is this dude is a freaking mole, man. Like, this dude, Pezeshkian, he's either so smart that we can't see what he's really doing, or he's incompetent as it looks, or more dubiously, this dude is an Israeli asset. I mean, at this point, it's just hard to, it's during his coronation, his ceremony, that the lead negotiator for Hamas is destroyed in Iran. He's the product of a Rus election because the last president accidentally, his helicopter blew up after coming back from Azerbaijan, by the fucking way. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like Azerbaijan and Iran are being set up to go to war with each other, and probably with Armenian backing, even though Armenia has traditionally been a Russian satellite. Their leader, Pashinyan, is we talk about guys like Erdogan, you know what I'm saying, who are just slippery in Turkey. Pashinyan, the leader of Armenia, dude is just savage. It's hard to say anything other than he's selling out his country. Like, he's given up areas in Armenia to Azerbaijan, the Nagora. I can't remember the exact. It's a pass, right? It's not far from where that 99-year land strip is, where lots of ethnic Armenians live. The Azerbaijanis ethnically cleansed them like 4 years ago. This was still under Pashinyan. The Russians were told to stand down. They had soldiers there to keep exactly this from happening. Pashinyan had made a secret deal with the Azerbaijanis to give up this land. And by all intents and purposes, it looks like Pashinyan is on the take. Like, he is desperate to pull his country away from Russian orbit and to bring them into kind of the EU sphere. And this is how he's doing it. You know what I'm saying? So now Iran looks like they have two neighbors to the north that are at least potentially working with the United States, and up to and including allowing a military presence literally on the border, the northern border of Iran. It's a big deal.
I mean,
that war.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like the United States, because they can't win a big war right now. They don't have the ability. They try with Iran. Iran embarrassed Israel in many ways, exposed Israel in many ways. And now you kind of have, okay, we moved in Syria. We were able to, get Assad out. We were able to put our guy in. And now they have that large, that entire area to be able to, not just move their own things, and Israel can have their own strategic points, but they are stopping, funding to places like northern, to the northern resistance and so on and so forth. My I guess question is sort of, do you view these guys? Are they just little Zelenskys now that are just trying to get a bag, do what they can? I mean, why do this? Why side with the United States at this point?
Not everybody thinks that the empire is in decline. Some people think the empire is just reforming. Some people think the empire has just had a couple of bad rounds and they're about to rally, But when it comes to it militarily, when the gun is against your head, you're probably not going to bet against the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think and also there's a lot of hero worship, right? Where like, these are Eastern European countries that have never had the prestige or wealth of like France and Germany and England. I mean, unless you want to go back to like fucking Alexander the Great times, like hella far back. You know what I'm saying? But in the contemporary modern world, Azerbaijan has only recently become rich, and that's through oil wealth and pipelines. You know, before then, you looked at them like your little cousin Balki. You know, they have that stigma, and so they want to appear, you know, civilized, right? That desire to be one of the good ones, right?
And it does seem like a lot of these countries are so interested in the idea of the EU, the idea of being a prestigious European, you know. And I guess what would I expect? I mean, them to go with
money. It's a lot of money, in
especially
it
for the leaders, especially if
Absolutely.
you're the top 1%, you know, that political class, that puppet class or whatever. They're getting paid, man. America does take care of them, at least financially in the beginning.
Right.
Let's talk about this, man, because tomorrow, I believe this week, we're going to have a meeting between Donald Trump and Joe Trump and Vladimir Putin. And they're supposed to be meeting in Alaska. I don't think that the city has been done. City has been chosen, but they're going to be meeting in Alaska. This is the first time, I believe, that Putin is visiting the United States since 2016. Isn't there like a warrant for his arrest?
He does have an outstanding ICC warrant. That's correct.
Yeah. So there's some interesting things in here. What do you know about this? What can you tell us about this? What are your thoughts? Does this matter? What's happening here?
I think the ICC warrant comes into play as it relates to why they chose to meet in Alaska, right? Though I think it's odd that Putin is coming to America to meet with Trump. You know, I mean, that meeting could go any number of ways, but I think having it in Alaska allows you, from a Russian point of view, to control most of the airspace that Putin is going to fly through. You know, the only airspace that you're going to have to check in with is going to be the American airspace once you reach that zone, and that's where you're supposed to meet. So it makes it harder for the fuckery. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to UAE and I fly over Turkey, right, there's theoretically the potential for the Turkish Air Force to ground the plane and hand you over to the ICC. You know, and that's a greater than 0% chance that someone like Erdogan might even make a play for something like that, you know. Or worse, Armenia, right? Fly over, Pashinyan grounds the flight. Now, look, you're talking about a World War III type situation, but just because it's dumb doesn't mean someone won't try it, right? So, like, that's the only thing I can figure for that. Although, for me, I would have met in a neutral place like China. You know, I'm not going to meet in the United States. You're clearly not going to come to Moscow, because let's talk about the power dynamic of you come here and we'll talk. Like your parents send for you, you know. So in that way, Donald Trump is still able to establish who's the boss. You know, he comes to Alaska, he meets one night, and then there's these, you know, rumors that continue to circulate to say they're going to try to slide Zelensky's ass in. We'll see how that goes. But I see that as a non-starter. I see that literally as Putin will get up, walk away, and that already would be quite an escalation, because the Russian government no longer sees Zelensky as the rightful leader of the Ukrainian government, and they've said so several times. You know, and that's, again, for very simple reasons. Zelensky is past his term limits and has extended his presidential time for more than a year. Like, more than a year ago, there should have been elections, you know, and even Ukrainians have talked about this. This was one of the things that Zelensky, who was the former head of the military, was like, you know, ain't it about time for you to get the fuck? And then they got rid of Zelensky, and he became the ambassador to Great Britain, you know, which is weird.
And the model.
Right. Yeah, they're looking, you know, doing it up in Vogue, man. Getting them, you know, little thirst mommy looks and whatnot.
Yeah, I can see non-profit white ladies with Ukraine flags in their bios that are like, oh, yeah, we want to get that Zelensky calendar.
It looked like they grooming that boy up, getting him ready to be something even more important than the ambassador of Britain. But what do we know?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like, and because we've been talking about this conflict, I mean, really since we've even been on YouTube at this point, and we talked about it on our podcast before we got on YouTube about this war and its potential. And now that it's here, and now that it's from all reports that are vetted reports are showing that Russia is advancing more and more and more and more every day. And it feels like something's got to give, right? It feels like Zelensky's got to go. It feels like they're going to need to, concede that these parts of the Donbass are going to go to Russia. There's all these things that need to happen. But it doesn't seem like it can happen, right? I mean, yeah,
Zelensky
go ahead.
says bombastic things like, we'll never recognize these areas. You recognize these areas the moment your military walked away. The moment the Russian military walked in and your military walked away, you recognized these areas are now Russian. Sanction me with your armies. The fact of the matter is the Ukrainians are being decimated all across the contested areas. There's no area where they are advancing, not one. Not in Kherson, not in the Kharkiv Oblast, not in Donetsk, not in Luhansk, nowhere. They're losing everywhere badly. Like Zaporizhia.
Worse and worse, yeah.
Sometimes
it's slow going, and then the floodgates open, and you go, oh my God, how are they moving so fast?
Which is what we're seeing in Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka. Both of these cities are essentially circled on three sides so that the Russian military gives the Ukrainian military an opportunity to leave. And if they don't take that opportunity, they're surrounded fully. They close off, the cauldrons, as they're called in war theory, and then they capture the armies. This is why the Russians are always able to do such big prisoner swaps, and the Ukrainians are not. The Ukrainians are not capturing Russians. They don't even have dead Russians. The Russians are capturing huge, huge swaths of Ukrainian soldiers, most of which don't even want to be there. Got kidnapped from your Starbucks job. You on the way to your home from your second shift, and here come the Ukrainian thugs in the van, grabbed you, threw you up. You know what I'm saying? And now you off at boot camp. Of course you throwing your hands up when you see the Russians. You ain't a soldier. This is not Ukraine's first army or second army. It's closer to their fourth army. You know what I'm saying? These are guys with very little training. You have the very good weapons, okay? You have NATO weapons, which are some of the best, but you have no training, and you really have no hoorah. The guys that hoorah'd, they're already dead. Those dudes that wanted to run to the defense of Ukraine in 2022, those guys are dead. Everybody else are the people that just couldn't get out of the country. They're not fighters. They're being forced into the military like a draft, but way worse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're literally kidnapping people off the streets, 60-year-old men off the streets and sending them to boot camp. Those guys are getting decimated, So to your question, what's going to happen with this Putin Trump conversation? I don't know. I really don't. I mean, at best, you might get a scenario where Trump is like, look, no matter what the Europeans say, we're not going to get involved. This is what we're willing to recognize. Anything past this, that's going to bother us. If you take Kyiv proper, or if you, seek to unify Ukraine by absorbing the entire body, that might be too much. If you try to take Odessa, we have plans. It's going to be something like, but believe me, there is a deal that the Americans are making. And it doesn't matter whether or not the Europeans are on board or whether or not Ukraine is on board. Like, Zelensky's not a real boy. He has to do what he's told. They will turn the money off and he dies in 24 hours. They will turn the protection off and he will die in 24 hours. They will stop giving intel and his army will vanish, like dew in the summer sun. You know what I'm saying? Without American and NATO intel, the Ukrainian army would be routed in an incredibly short period of time. Take away the NATO technology, exact same thing. Yeah, sure, there'll still be pockets of resistance, but I mean that the Russians are more than capable of handling some pissed off Azov brigade guy who still got, you know, a little rocket launcher. You know, I mean, how much damage can you do? You know, if no one's giving you resupply and info and protection and passports to get your Jason Bourne ass the fuck out of there. You know, that's so the Americans, as Trump has told Zelensky several times, the Americans hold all the cards. They determine what will happen with Ukraine and what won't happen. Zelensky can complain, but what's he supposed to do? I mean, this man is so delusional. He's still talking about he wants an unconditional ceasefire from the Russians. Like, I mean, this would be like General Lee demanding an unconditional ceasefire from Grant, you know, because, oh my God, the Union Army is in New Orleans.
There used to be a Saturday Night Live skit, you know, Saturday Night Live, very woke, and it was about Second Desert Storm, and we're talking about Saddam Hussein's propaganda when America came in, and they were like, "We're pushing back America. They won't be able to last against us. We're too strong. We're too tough, and we're going to push America back." Obviously, they were losing the war really badly, and you know, it was a little joke. A little fun joke that everyone was saying, because obviously you have to be completely either, you know, disillusioned, or obviously it's just, you know, propaganda. You're trying to sell that you're actually winning. You can't say that you're losing. And that's basically what has been happening over the last, you know, definitely 2 years, but really since the special military operation began. And we're here. We're about to go to Alaska. We're going to discuss something. Does something change? It feels like it could, but we've been here before. We've had meetings before. We've had discussions before. And you know, obviously there's going to have to be some concessions by the United States, and that's not something the United States does.
Yeah, my expectations are incredibly low. They are incredibly low as far as what's going to happen, what's going to come from this conversation. I just don't see it changing much of the material conditions. Plus, you just can't trust anything the United States says. You know, honestly, I feel like the danger of the meeting is not even worth the potential of the meeting. I'm actually shocked that Putin is even meeting Trump, because you have a lot more to lose physically than you have to gain, even though Russia itself has almost nothing to lose. Putin himself has quite a lot to lose, you know, meeting with someone like Trump, you know. I mean, yeah, I don't even need to go into op world about all the different accidents that could happen to Putin, you know, while he's there. But anything that happens, I mean, this is why Medvedev is talking about, you know, the dead hand. Like, fuck around and get cute. Look, you want to keep Putin, because when Putin is gone, Medvedev is going to get the stick, okay? And Medvedev is not Putin. Let me tell you that. He's not nearly so polished, not nearly so diplomatic, not nearly so needing to have geniality with the West. You give Medvedev the stick again, you're going to see a very different type of Russia.
Yeah. Let's move on. I want to talk about this. I'll just throw this on here. As you may have heard, you may know. Oh God, it won't leave us. There has been now conversation from Benjamin Netanyahu about
they're begging us. They're begging the
occupation of Gaza. We just had every Al Jazeera journalist killed officially yesterday, every single one. Now we are, entering 2 years into a Holocaust, and you can start to see, you know, the pieces on the board, which kind of look like their October 7th was known about, just like it was Pearl Harbor. You know, who knows how long it was known about? Who knows exactly, how that would be responded to? But with the Nova Festival, with the Hannibal Directive, you knew that Israel was going to be using that as a casus belli for this Holocaust. And this is essentially what they are their goal was from the beginning, and they've been afraid to say it out loud, even in this interview. I'll go ahead and play it and let's see and just get your response.
Instructive that now many Gazans are fighting back. They're begging us, they're begging the world, free us, and free Gaza from Hamas. No nation can accept a genocidal terrorist organization, an organization committed to its annihilation, a stone's throw from its citizens. Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel.
I'm gonna be honest.
Your thoughts?
I hate to even listen to this dude. I hate to play his videos. I get that we cover world leaders, and it has to happen. He just fills me with such a rage, and I try to be apolitical when we talk about world leaders. Everything in there was so incredibly toxic, it's hard to comment on. So let's look at it on the lines. Okay, this is how ridiculous Israeli propaganda is, as Hasbara is called in the business. So you telling me the Palestinians every day is talking to the Israelis? Are they speaking to them in Hebrew? Or does the average IDF soldier speak Arabic? So when the Palestinians are coming up and they're saying, please, Mr. IDF man, please save me from Hamas. I mean, only a child could believe such a thing. Like that already, just from a technical point of view, that's not even possible. So he opens with the most ridiculous hyperbole ever. Second, let's get to the fact that the war could be over tomorrow. Hamas has offered to give up leadership of the Gaza for more than 6 months. Hamas offered to give up leadership of the Gaza while Biden was still in power. So that's already another just incredibly blatant lie. Let's move on to demilitarize. Why should the Palestinians have to demilitarize? Are the Israelis going to demilitarize? You know what happens when an oppressed people give up their right to resist. They get killed. Look at the Native Americans. When you give up your right to resist, you give up your right to live because only you can keep you safe. So again, these are all nice terms for Palestinians need to come in and let us take their land, and they need to have no weapons. You know, having a security bound border, Israel already has that. They had that on October 7th. They've been had that. So they're acting like, oh, we need to build a security. That exists. It's a wall. It's the wall that Trump wants to build. You know? I mean, so all of these, it's all just an excuse to kill every human being that's there, right? And to take the land. Just have the balls to say it, man. Like, when we look at what happened in the world, Genghis Khan didn't make excuses. Genghis Khan said, I'll take your shit. If your army's stronger than mine, you could keep your shit. If you give me enough tribute, you could keep your shit. If you don't want to give me tribute and your army ain't stronger than mine, I'll take your shit. That's honest. That's what the West is doing. That is what they are utilizing Israel to do to Palestine. They're nibbling on the West Bank, and now they're about to just absorb Gaza completely. But they can never just say, we'll take your shit because we're stronger than you. So they have to create this whole fantasy about how Israel is in danger. And Israel is not in danger. Israel is the danger. All that language about we live in a dangerous neighborhood, you never had to live here. You know, but the Hebrew law says treat your neighbors with love because you once were a stranger in a strange land. Like, that's Hebrew law. So like when this is happening in Israel, right? There's nothing biblical that gives them leave to do these kind of things. There's nothing that excuses this type of behavior. It's only the fact that they can get away with it. And the West allows this to happen because the West's own guilt as it relates to their relationship with the Ashkenazi over the last 500 years. And so they make the world pay for their sins, up to and including excusing and whitewashing a literal genocide. But they don't have the balls to just say it. So they just get up and gaslight the fuck out of everybody. And they're like, oh my God, we're saving them. We're saving them. We're not killing them. We're freeing them. Okay.
You know, it's just like the most ridiculous propaganda that only Israelis can believe. And this happened a little earlier this year. It was an interview that Trump was doing when he first started talking about building resorts in Gaza, and also that incredibly strange AI video that we saw. So this is just, again, to your point, just discussing what's going to happen, saying what's going to happen. This was Trump earlier this year.
I could make a deal for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
Spent. No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them. Because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. You know, we give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
Yeah, so when this has sort of been, again, I think October 7th was known about. There's considerable evidence that says that they did know this was going to happen. They knew it was going to be a casus belli. If you look at the Hannibal Directive, they killed their own people. The Nova Festival, they killed their own people. Half the people that were probably killed on October 7th were killed by the IDF in some capacity. So you already knew this was something that they wanted to do. And now the ethnic cleansing, the Holocaust that's in Gaza is, again, right into 2-year anniversary coming up soon. And, and even then it's a bit ridiculous to say, because, this is a 70-year-old struggle here that we're witnessing. And it has tons of, historical ties to white supremacy, to destabilizing the Arab world, into, now you see that Syria is bringing in these HTS guys, Wahhabist guys. We were we were watching a video earlier today where they were talking about a lot of the early Indians kind of considered themselves both Hindu and Muslim, and the British made them decide, because it's easy to sort of have this sectarian religious violence. It's easy to stoke, and it's easy to use as that's where so many people back then were always talking about, well, Israel and Palestine, that's about Muslims and Jews, and this is what Trump does too. He tries to flatten what's going on, no pun intended. He's trying to make it seem as if there is no, there's just something on the other side that can work. You're talking about they're not going to need to return because their situation is going to be so good.
So there will be no. The Palestinians, it'll be away for years, but the homes will be developed. But by then, the Israelis will have moved there. But then why couldn't we just move the Palestinians in before the Israelis move in?
But why is it dangerous? This just goes to the thing. And we were talking to a friend of ours, and they were like, well, we were talking about the Ukraine war, and they were like, well, I don't think that most people know that Russians aren't killing civilians, and it really just goes to the point of, if you're not watching, if you're not seeing, if you're not here with us or wherever, we think we're pretty good, and you're going to get good information here. But, it's one of those things where keep it real. You can't even keep it realistic. There is no part of what either Netanyahu or Joey Trump, Donald Biden said that has any realism, that is rooted in any sort of truth. And even the
Other than we
Fox
about to take this
News,
shit.
right?
That's
Even
the only
Fox,
true thing.
The Fox News guy even pushed back and was like, "What about a right of return?" Fox News guy. I mean, even he's like, right to return for the Palestinians. And Trump, Trump has just learned, don't answer. Just keep rambling on. They're not going to continue to follow up. And that is essentially what the media is now. We just ask one little follow-up question, allow Trump or whoever to just totally deflect it.
To give the speech he was going to give anyway.
Anyway, and then we just move on to the next question. And here we are, United States culpable. 75 million people voted for Donald Trump. So, here we are. War's still in Gaza, the Holocaust still in Gaza, the war in Ukraine, escalations in China, escalations in Iran, escalations in Somalia, Central Africa. I mean, y'all, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Syria. I mean, and it keeps going. The United States, man, their hands is in everything, and they're moving pieces best they can.
Trump is not a 5D chess player, but the United States government is, and the United States government is more important than Donald J. Trump. It has things that it has to enact. The empire has things that it must do, and it is making moves within moves within moves within moves. They take some losses, but they take a lot of wins too. I think the Azerbaijan situation is as great an example of a win as any. Most people don't even know what happened, and they just literally won the ability to put to build up ground forces right next to the Iranian border. Imagine if Iran made a deal with Mexico where, a little strip between, Tijuana and San Diego was given to the Iranian military, or government. The Iranian government, not the military, the government.
It's just a lease,
Americans would immediately,
It's just a 99-year lease on the border, okay?
99 years.
Of a country that we're actively fighting a war against or warfare against. No problem, right? Yeah. Worry about yourself. Worry about what your country does, because right there, no other country can do that. No other country has the audacity. Or, whatever. Let's just give a shout out to our podcast listeners, because we're available everywhere you find podcasts. You find podcasts here, you find them there, we're there. You can also check out our music. We're just type in our names, whatever music platform you utilize, we are on there, I promise you. And we will gladly accept that 0.00132468 cents. Pay artists, good God, man, it is crazy out here. Want to give a shout out to our patrons. Y'all, we got 99 patrons. We're looking for 100. That 100 could be you. You will get special brownie points from me, and I'm sure Tanky will be very excited as well. It's a mitzvah, as you could say, and you'll get some positive vibes if you're into those things, and you'll be benefiting us. We got music coming out August 20th. Blitz package. It's good. It's so good. Tastes good. Feels good all the way going down.
Wow.
Tanky, anything we missed? Thoughts, feelings?
I just want to feel as good one day in my life as Trump did on the day that he signed that Azerbaijan shit. That face. The fuck? I'm trying to feel like that in my life, man.
I swindled these motherfuckers. Look, if I ever seen one. Got one. Yeah.
Shit, they grinning too. They all just both became billionaires.
Yeah, exactly. You would think, oh man, we have such a history of ethnic cleansing and border disputes, but American capitalism brings everybody together, right? All right,
that man a Peace Prize, a Nobel Peace Prize. Give it to him. Give it to him.
He's got 2 nominations.
Give it to him.
He got 2 of them. How many do we need?
He's got more than 2. He's got 3 now, at least.
Oh, well, how many do you need?
Yeah, because he got one from Cambodia, the Cambodian president after the brief Philippine, the Thai. Yeah, so he submitted one. The devil himself submitted one for him. You know what I'm saying? And then
there's always a third.
Right. And then
there's
the Pakistani, I believe, foreign minister. So that's 3 he's got already. Get it to him. It's
What
already
does it
a
matter?
worthless metal, man.
It's completely worthless, useless, and
worthless,
stupid.
man.
It's like being like the Time Person of the Year. It's like a 50% chance that means you're one of the worst people to ever live.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's what we got. We're
out this bitch.
Yeah, we almost at 40. Let's get under that. For Emoji Little Tanky Sumler, I'm Amin TMK. This is the Inner City Left broadcast. Peace.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.